The turning point. Once upon a time, in a small town nestled between rolling hills, there lived a young man named Tom. Tom had always been a pessimist. Every opportunity seemed like a challenge he couldn't overcome. He saw the glass half empty, even when others saw it half full. Whether it was a job interview or a relationship, Tom believed that things would always go wrong, and it often seemed that they did. One rainy afternoon, Tom met an elderly woman named Mrs. Turner at the local cafe. She was sitting by the window, knitting a scarf, with a smile that seemed to brighten even the stormy day. Tom, feeling the weight of his frustrations, sat nearby and couldn't help but overhear her cheerful conversation with the barista. After a while, Mrs. Turner turned to Tom and noticed his gloomy expression. "You don't seem to be in the best of spirits, dear," she said kindly. "What's bothering you?" Tom sighed, pouring out his frustrations about how nothing ever seemed to go right for him, how every attempt to move forward ended in failure. Mrs. Turner listened carefully, then smiled gently. "I've lived many years, young man, and I've learned one thing. Life will always throw obstacles at us. But the way we face those obstacles is what defines our future." Tom raised an eyebrow. "And how do you face them?" "By choosing to see the good in every situation," she explained. "It's not always easy, but when you start to shift your thinking from the worst-case scenario to what could go right, things start to change." Tom was skeptical, but there was something about Mrs. Turner's warm presence that made him curious. "You really think that just thinking differently could make a difference?" Mrs. Turner chuckled. "I know it will. But don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself." That evening, Tom decided to put Mrs. Turner's words to the test. He had a meeting the next day with a potential client, and instead of dreading it, he chose to look at the positives. "What if this meeting goes well?" he thought. "What if this is the opportunity I've been waiting for?" The next morning, Tom went to the meeting with a newfound sense of optimism. He smiled, made eye contact, and spoke with confidence. For the first time in a long while, he felt at ease. The client responded positively to his ideas, and by the end of the meeting, they agreed to work together. Tom couldn't believe it. Over the following weeks, Tom continued to practice positive thinking. He found himself approaching challenges with a "what if it works out" mindset rather than focusing on all the things that could go wrong. And, more often than not, things did work out. His career took off. He repaired relationships with family members, and his sense of self-worth grew. One day, Tom ran into Mrs. Turner at the cafe again. He couldn't wait to tell her about the changes in his life. "It worked," he said with a big smile. "Your advice really worked. I started thinking differently, and my whole life has turned around. I'm finally seeing the good in things, and it's making all the difference." Mrs. Turner smiled, her eyes twinkling. "I'm so glad to hear that. Just remember, life will always have ups and downs, but how you respond to them is where the magic happens." From that day forward, Tom never looked at life the same way again. He knew that no matter what obstacles came his way, his positive thinking would always guide him to a brighter path. And with each new challenge, he was ready to face it with hope, knowing that change always starts with the way you think. The end.
Along with their meanings. 1. Pessimist. Meaning, a person who tends to see the worst aspect of things or believes that the worst will happen. 2. Frustrations. Meaning, feelings of disappointment or annoyance caused by the inability to achieve something or by a difficult situation. 3. Obstacles. Meaning, things that block or hinder progress or achievement, barriers or challenges that must be overcome. 4. Skeptical. Meaning, doubtful or uncertain about something, not easily convinced. 5. Optimism. Meaning, a tendency to expect positive outcomes or to look on the bright side of things. 6. Confidence. Meaning, a feeling of self-assurance or belief in one's abilities or qualities. 7. Self-worth. Meaning, a person's sense of their own value or importance. 8. Twinkling. Meaning, shining with a flickering or sparkling light, often used to describe someone's eyes when they are bright with emotion or joy. 9. Guided. Meaning, to be led or directed in a particular way, usually by someone or something providing direction.